A reading from the chapter For Your Own Good from Within Reason. During COVID, at times we saw public health use its power arbitrarily without regard for the data. This was the case, for example, with lockdowns imposed even after vaccines and better treatments emerged. Developments that should have radically altered our view of COVID risk. I had some personal experience with this. In March 2021, my parents were under strict lockdown in a Toronto nursing home, despite having received a COVID vaccine along with all staff and residents of the facility. Their frustration echoed that of many in Canada and around the world who found themselves chafing at stringent public health measures that did not seem to be required by the data. From parents coping with ongoing school closures to small businesses suffering loss owing to lockdowns, many felt the burden of restriction during the pandemic. This burden could at times feel heavy-handed and capriciously imposed. This was certainly true for my parents, whose continued isolation often made little sense once vaccines were available. It is perhaps ironic, then, that when we turned to politicians and public health authorities to justify these measures, we received answers to amounted to an echo of our parents all those years ago. It's for your own good. Now, to be clear, there's nothing wrong with advocating for something for the good of a person or population, nor is for your own good always an inadequate response to why a given measure is necessary. In the past, I've argued in favor of paternalism when it's used in the right circumstances and truly supports the public good. Yet there are times when our belief that we are acting on behalf of the good leads us to embrace measures that are counterproductive to the work of promoting health. During the COVID period, I was struck not just that continued isolation from my parents and their peers made little sense in light of what we knew about the risk of COVID in vaccinated population, but also that it was clearly harming their health. Isolation is difficult for anyone. It is particularly hard for older adults, for whom time with loved ones is uniquely precious. Efforts meant to safeguard the health of older adults were, in practice, robbing them of the chance to make risk calculations for themselves. In keeping them sealed off, even after they had been vaccinated, they were denied the opportunity to measure the diminished, but still present, risk of COVID against the certain harm of lost time with family and friends. This implied a lack of confidence in their capacity to make the right choices for their health, overriding the autonomy of competent people, quote, for their own good. It also reflected public health's unwillingness to grapple with the trade-offs inherent in lockdown and isolation policies. Had we been better at weighing those trade-offs, we might have been better able to address the reality of what isolation cost older adults and the broader question of just how much we're collectively willing to give up in the name of safety, a question that is always implicit when we discuss paternalism in public health.